As we're live, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. My name is Tristan Goodwin, in case that wasn't super clear and obvious. Let me kind of give you an idea of what's going on here today. I have spent all morning trying to record a video explaining what this silly thing does, how it works, why it's useful, and I'm just having a really hard time with it. And so what I decided to do was to just do a live stream, kind of walk you guys through it, not worry about being like super polished or anything because it just wasn't coming out the way that I liked it. So I think this will be a little bit better, a little bit more flow, a little bit more real. So that being said, I do have the chat window open, so if you guys write in there, I'll be able to see it. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, or jokes, feel free to leave those in the chat, and I will answer those as they come in. And then I think I have Ahmad, who's going to be helping me kind of keep track of all the questions and everything. So we'll see if they show up. But that being said, let me show you what Avatar Forge is. So, a little bit of background on this. I have been working in marketing now for officially since 2015. Prior to that, I did freelance work for myself. I was a self-employed freelance Spanish to English translator, and I did that from about 2011 to 2015 when I shut that down in order to start working on marketing full time. And so in that time, and prior to that, I like door-to-door sales would probably be the easiest way to explain it. So I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what it is people actually need, what is it they actually want, and using that information in order to, one, communicate more clearly, and then two, to provide better services, better products, and everything else. And so that's been a really big, I don't want to say passion, but it's been one of those things that I've really enjoyed studying and learning about over the past 13 years. I feel so old. And so during that process, during those years, I've gone through and I've developed a lot of different avatar frameworks. I've built a lot of different ways to kind of evaluate what it is that makes a buyer want to buy, right? How to get over pain points, how to help them move closer towards a product that I believe to be a good and valuable product. And then we got AI, and AI made everything go a lot faster. But the problem is that a lot of folks are still using very, very simple avatars when they're trying to do marketing work with their, with AI, right? So a very typical avatar that I see is something like, you are a 30 to 35-year-old man living in northern Utah. Actually, I'm older than that now, aren't I? Who likes video games, right? And like that's where a lot of these avatars kind of stop. Like that's really where they end. And that's just not enough information for an AI to accurately represent that person, okay? To represent that audience that you're trying to reach. Now, that being said, there have been a few very interesting technical developments over the past year-ish that have made this entire process a lot more interesting. So I'm sure you guys have heard me talking about this research paper by Google DeepMind and Stanford University. I think I have a video on it. In fact, I think it was my last video where I talked about how I cloned myself and kind of a jerk. That's this. So what they did here is they went through a series of surveys, of questionnaires, of what's what I'm looking for, like simulations and those kinds of things with, in this case, 1,052 real people. And then they use that data to then create AI clones of those individuals, which the agents were able to replicate the participants' responses to the general social survey at 85% accurately, as 85% as accurately as the humans did after going through and doing all that. So this is really, really cool. In fact, this has been one of my favorite projects because it's been a very valuable resource for me just because I have an AI clone of myself. Additionally, there's another paper that came out not too long ago where they were able to replicate or estimate a 90% reliability for marketing stuff. So this is testing on personal care product surveys and a whole bunch of other things. And so there are some really, really advanced ways where you can get an AI to actually work and act as if it was an actual person, but it's complicated, it's time consuming. This process here for doing the personal clone, if you were to follow the method that I have in my YouTube video, it still takes about an hour, sometimes 2 hours. if you were to follow this, then it takes like a week. So it's kind of a lot. But, imagine if you did have the ability to go and ask 1,000 clones of real people about your landing page, about your YouTube video, about your social media posts, about, whatever it is that you'd potentially want to ask him about. There is a ton of really useful information you can get out of that, especially if you can then take these AI agents, these clones, and have them more closely represent the target audience that you're trying to reach, right? So people who might be a little bit more interested in video games, people who might be a little bit more interested in, looking for a real estate agent, people who are looking for Laffy Taffy, whatever. Then there's a lot of really, really valuable information you can get by having an AI that is able to simulate human behavior at that kind of level. So, that being said, I started working with a new client, and I was just having a really, really, really rough time getting any conversions on their website, just like near zero, right? And it was really rough. And so I thought, you know what, now's the best time as any to go through and to build out the tool that I need and that I want to kind of help me help this client. And so I sat down and I built Avatar Forge. And so again, this is the combination of my 13 years of experience doing avatar-based research and building buyer avatars and researching avatars and everything else. And it's also based off of this research paper. So we had the human clones, and then also I grabbed some really interesting parts and pieces out of this research paper where, just making it a little bit better at replicating buyer behavior, right? And so all of that information has gone into this system. And if you'd like to see that, it's right here. Okay? So this is the database where all the avatars are stored. There are 2,117 human clones inside of this database. This is a lot of information. And of course, these are, they're cut off. That's not the whole thing. The actual whole thing looks like this. So just to kind of give you an idea of how much information's in here. So I asked it to make it nice and easy to read. So that's the start. And I'm just going to push this button and we're going to scroll. And we're going to keep scrolling. And I'm going to make it scroll faster because we're going to be here all day. Up to there. It's a lot of information that goes into these silly things. And if you're looking for like a little bit of a more human version of it, the only thing to not pay attention to is the AI's name, because they just kind of assign names to them at random. And so you have a lot of female avatars named like Ethan. Well, not a lot, but like it's an example in this case. There's Scarlett Johansson here, who's a guy. There's a Samuel Jackson, who's a woman. It's kind of funny, to be honest. But you see the kind of information that's in here. So demographics, personality traits, digital behavior, social communication styles, learning and growth systems, content preferences, motivation and goals, pain points, decision processes, like how do they actually decide what to do? Excuse me. Purchasing behavior, psychographics, voice and communication styles. So this is how the AI actually speaks. Cognitive model, and then just a short summary down here at the very end. So all of that's going into each of these things. And I checked, and each avatar is about 26,000 tokens just by itself. So again, kind of a lot of data that's going into this thing, but that's really what you need in order to get the AIs to respond as if it was that actual person. So probably the easiest way to explain what this thing actually is and what it does is to just kind of walk you guys through it and actually do a test, okay? So again, we have these 2,017 clones of actual people. And so what we'd want to do is we want to be able to query those people. We want to poll the people. We want to send them surveys. We want to ask them questions. But we also want to give them the context of the thing that it is we want them to analyze for us, right? So this is Avatar Forge, right? So we start over here under the testing panel, and we're just going to build a test. I'm going to kind of explain how these different parts and pieces work as we go. So we're going to call this the Neo 1 Test 2 Demo. And then special instructions. This is where you can give the AI context as far as like why it's looking at the thing, that kind of stuff. So in this case, we're going to be running a test on the new robots. I really, really want one. So I need to sell a whole bunch of these reports and everything. So If you guys want to buy reports and stuff from me, or if you want to sign up for the platform, let's do it quick so I can go buy myself a robot. But yeah, so let's see here. So we're going to give some instructions. She's going to say, what's this thing actually called? It's just the Neo Home Robot. Okay. You saw that a new humanoid robot, AI powered, is coming to market for only $20,000. Let's say less than a new car, or $500 a month. It's called the Neo Home Robot. Okay, so that's our context that the AIs are going to receive. Next, we need to decide the type of test that we actually want to run. So we have a few different options here. First off is we have the multi-step funnel. So if you're running like your standard marketing funnel, right? So you've got an ad that's going up on YouTube, then you're going to send people to a landing page, and then you're going to send them to, like the PDF download or whatever it's they actually bought. So that's where you would use this. Click the little button, and this lets you go through. Step 1 is going to be this. It's going to contain this type of content: video, image, PDFs, or text. And then the questions that you want to actually ask those AIs in regards to this content in this step. Then you add your next step, so on and so forth. That is going to let you, ask those, or basically run like a series of these tests in sequence. Okay. Option 2 is the test mode. So you have single piece of content. You have split test, so you can give one set, one version of a landing page, a second version of the landing page. And again, it kind of lets you run 2 tests at the same time, but without having to go through and like do everything from scratch. And you have multimedia tests. This one's my favorite. So this is designed for like YouTube, for example, right? So with YouTube, you're going to have your video thumbnail, and then you're going to have the video's title, and you're going to have the actual video file itself. And so in those cases, it would let you go through and test the entire experience that the viewer is going to have from seeing the thumbnail and the title to clicking it and then watching through the actual video. So we have text. This is where you do something like email marketing, or where you would, or like your email chains, those kinds of stuff, social media posts, all that kind of thing. You have the option to do images. This is the one that we're going to run here in just a second. I really like using this to go and get a screenshot of a landing page or a website or whatever, and then running that. Documents let you do PDF, Word, Excel, PowerPoints, those kinds of things. This is actually really helpful, especially for like doing Excel. So like with your ad campaigns, for example, if you were to go and get all your titles, all your descriptions, all your headlines, all that stuff, then you can actually then go and drop that into here and say, all right, AI, which of these titles are you most drawn towards, or drawn to? Which ones repel you the most? Like what, give me feedback on all that. And then video uses Gemini AI on this. So it's actually the same AI that YouTube uses to analyze its videos. And so like it goes through and I don't think it actually watches frame by frame. I think it skips frames, but it's really darn close. And that lets the AI see how you edit the video, see the expressions of the people who are in the video, listen to the tone, listen to the music, like all that kind of crazy stuff. This one is currently disabled because I'm actually switching this to a different API to get to the AIs in this, because it was just going through Gemini, but there's a limit to how big the files could be, like the actual videos, and we need bigger video files, so we got to switch that over to, I think we're going to be going through Vertex, but fixing that probably next week. But yeah, so like I said, in this case, we're just going to do an image because this is going to let us test the landing page for this website. Now, the way that I get my my screenshots of these sites is there's a plugin called Go Full Page. And what this does, you click the button, and then it scrolls down, takes screenshots, stitches all the screenshots together, and then you can just download it either as an image or as a PDF, and then either of those will work for the AI. So, I already have that. It's right here. Image is uploaded and ready. So let's move on to the next step, which is our avatar selection. Have a few options here. So first is you have some filters, of course, age ranges, genders, demographics, that kind of stuff. The select most diverse avatars, just a little bit of context here. This is going to choose the AIs with the most differences from like their avatars compared to like the rest of the avatars. So like these are the most unique avatars would probably be another way to phrase this. So you can do that. You can also tell the AI like what kind of an audience you would want to reach. So like in this case, we would say something like, tech savvy people who are making over, $250,000 a year, something like that. Somebody who would actually be interested in spending $500 a month on a robot. And then additionally, you have my custom avatar groups. So this is where you can, and I'll show this here in a second, but you can actually create your own customized subgroup of avatars. So what this does is you go through here and you tell, okay, this is the kind of audience that I want to reach, and then it will go through this entire database and find however many avatars it can that like most closely reach what what you're describing, and then you can go back and make some further adjustments to it and customize it, and then it will actually go and clone those AIs, modify them to better fit your audience or like that market that you want to reach, that avatar, and then you can use that for your tests moving forward, and those are all private, so you can I've got a buddy who always wants to do content for financial experts, financial advisors, and so this lets you actually go and create a group of financial advisors, but you're still maintaining all the personality traits, you're still maintaining the communication styles and everything else. All it's doing is, in this case, right, is adjusting maybe age ranges or finding avatars that are already within those age ranges they'd be looking for, and then changing like where they work, how much money they make, all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool too. But in this case, we're just going to say we want 20 avatars, and we're going to select them at random. So that way it's pulling from the entire database and not just from the first 20. And we don't need any of this other stuff. So that's your avatar selection. Next, we're going to ask some questions. So we have some options here. This is where you enter your question. This is where you select the type of question. So we have text response, multiple choice, rating 1 through 5, and then the Likert scale. Again, remember the Likert stuff right over here. We already had it, but we just adjusted the way that we process it over here. So that way it includes all the bonus stuff from this. So, and you can add in as many questions as you like. And then what's also kind of cool about this, so for example, we could say something, say, rate this statement. A $2,000 robot to help with daily chores is an awesome idea, right? And I'll set that to the Likert scale, and that way we have the strongly disagree, disagree, neutral agree, strongly agree. And then over here for our second question, we're going to say, please explain your previous response. I'll leave that as a text. And then what that does is it gives you kind of like the easy to read formatted answer, but then it also gives you the context behind that answer, which is kind of cool. So I'm not going to go through all these questions because I actually have this test already running in the background, but that's how you add in your questions. Now, and on top of that, you can also choose from a list of templates. So there are a few that are built in. You can also create your own template. So as soon as you start adding questions to these, you'll see an option up here to save it as template, and that will save the template to your account. And then that way you don't have to go through and rewrite the questions every single time. If you're not sure what questions to ask, then one of the things that I like to do is I will take the the screenshot or whatever, and then I'll drop it into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm going to be running a survey based on this. My end goal is to get this kind of information. Can you give me a list of questions? We can do text, multiple choice, whatever, and then it can actually give you those questions back, and then you choose from the ones that you want. I will build that into the system here eventually. I just want to fix a couple other little bugs before I start adding new bugs. So that's how you add in your questions. And then down here you just have some diversity controls. This lets the AI be a little bit more creative. It penalizes repetition. There's a few little things that go into this. Most folks won't ever need to touch or mess around with this, but for those that do, then who know how to use that kind of stuff, then you have the option down here as well. And this, again, it's kind of like adjusting the temperature of the models before it goes live. So to recap, context for the AI, the content that we want the AI to analyze, the avatars that we want the AIs to impersonate, and then the questions that we're going to ask the AIs, and then some final controls over the model specs and those kinds of things. And as soon as you're done with all that, you just click Run Test. and then it will submit and it will start running, and then you'll see it over here under test results. So we got the Neo test. I've already got this one going. Let's take a look at this real quick and see what some of these test results look like. And then again, for the folks who are watching, if you do have any questions or anything that you'd like me to kind of go back and like go into a little bit more detail with, please let me know. I am happy to do that. I want to make sure you guys are understanding what this thing actually does, because I haven't been doing a great job of explaining what it does on the social medias, and so that's why I'm trying to do this. But that being said, these are your test results. So you can see up here, we actually have test results coming in. So we are at 66%. We actually have 33 out of 50 avatars processed. And the first screen that we're going to see is our chat with results. So over here, this lets us send out a query to an AI that has access to all the test result data. So like all the responses from all the AIs, the content that was being tested, all the special instructions and everything else. And so this is super handy because this lets you do things like asking for trends in the data, looking for the types of avatars that are the most responsive to to the content or to whatever it is that you're testing. So you can do a lot of really interesting stuff with this as far as like a large scale analysis of all the test results, and then also if like if you forgot to ask a question or something, then like you can ask this AI and it'll go through and it'll try its best to kind of figure out how those AIs would respond without having to go through and do the entire test again, right? So that's AI chat. Next we have analytics. This gives you just a little bit of an overview of the test results. So it will show you age and gender distribution among the AIs, locations and occupations. Gotta keep working on that because usually it's only showing one, but there's a whole bunch. You have your sentiment analysis, your response completedness. So this is things like if the AIs are doing a good job of answering all the questions, those kinds of things. And then we have the engagement score, which again is how engaged the AIs are with the content and whatnot. So that's all of that. Then we also have our key insights right here. This kind of gives us a quick overview of what's going on into the system, like how AIs are responding to the questions, just little oversights that are interesting, right? This lets you export the data as a CSV. You also have the option up here to export all of the responses. These can get really long. I think the longest one I've done so far was 1,500 pages of data, which was a lot. So that lets you export all the responses. This gives you your keyword themes and word analysis, like all that. Response correlations, if there are any, outlier detections, if there are any, and then graphs that kind of show the responses for the Likert scale, the multi-test, and the rating 1 through 5. So the only thing it doesn't show is the text response because it's kind of hard to put that on a graph, right? But you could say, for example, do you agree with the statement? I would buy a robot helper to help around the home. So 31% said no, 28% said yes, 41% were neutral. Do you agree with the statement? $20,000 or $500 per month is a reasonable price. Most folks said absolutely not. Some folks said no. One person said maybe. So let's see here. So that's the analytics. We can also see the responses by questions. This is where you would go to see your text responses. So for example, here is the that one Likert question, right? So I would buy the robot to help around the home, all that. Explain your previous response. So we can go to like this Ava Rodriguez, right? So she said no, she wouldn't buy it. Why? She said, I like the idea if it's from my desire of autonomy and automation. But as a 49-year-old marketing analyst on a tight budget in New York, I'm risk adverse about big purchases that change daily routines. The landing page is appealing, but I need proof it won't waste my time or invade my privacy before I buy. Let's see here. Let's find one that agrees. So Olivia Martinez, the next one. I like the idea. It's a 40-year-old dad named Olivia, and teacher with limited time and a reliable home robot that actually reduces repetitive chores aligns with my desire for autonomy and more flexible time. I am calculatedly willing to try new tools if they clearly save time and the mental effort, and the downside is manageable, right? So you can start going through all these different questions and everything else and see them all like per question, but then you'll also have the option to see them on a by avatar space. So here is all the responses from Ava Rodriguez, just like that. And then also from Olivia Martinez, the 40-year-old guy from Boise, Idaho. And also, if you click on this, then you can also get some more information. So you can see again the demographics. Psychographics isn't currently pulling up. It's a known bug. I'll get that fixed. Cognitive factors, behavioral factors, and then advanced information over here too. So that lets you see all the responses from all those different AIs. And again, what makes this super useful is that if I were promoting this to, if I was the guy in charge of this website, right? Then I think the images are fine, right? You got some of these little videos, and I think that's great. Obviously, the AIs aren't able to watch the video part of this because it's just getting a screenshot, right? So I think that maybe some extra stuff that would show a little bit more of the practicality of the robots, a little bit more of the the usefulness of the robots would probably be really helpful, right? Because it's on here, you can kind of understand it, but you kind of need to know the context of what this thing is. You need to watch some of the videos maybe before you really go, okay, maybe 20 grand for this thing isn't such a bad idea. So maybe something could have been improved on the landing page just a little bit. So that type of an application. Now, there are some other really cool applications for this. Let me scroll back over here and go back to my test results, and I'll show you a few more of these. Okay, so these are just me testing different internal systems and stuff, but I want to look at this one. So this is for my wife, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law are running a crochet channel in Spanish. And one of the questions that kept popping up was, what kind of content should they actually create? What would be a good content bucket that would be engaging for this audience? So we went through and we dropped, this is before we had the custom avatar, so it's a little bit split with this, but we had to go through and we had it basically give us feedback on the different types of videos that we're thinking about making, or they're thinking about making, right? And I do apologize that this is all in Spanish, but I used to be a Spanish interpreter and translator, so it should be fine. So, for example, we asked it to rate the different types of videos that we're, kind of playing around with, right? So, a store tour or a haul type thing, a shopping video, right? That came back as a 3.6 out of 5, so a little bit above average. DIY plus crochet came back as a 4.93. AIs absolutely loved this idea. Crochet for beginners, 4.87. Absolutely love the idea. Opening surprise packages with crochet stuff inside, 2.46. So they did not like that idea very much. Again, we can see our sentiment analysis. We can see our insights. We can see all of our outliers and everything else. This one had a lot more outliers just because it was a little bit more personal based, based on the types of project that they wanted to do, why they're doing the projects, all that kind of stuff. We have response correlations like that. So, for example, people who like the idea of doing the store haul type videos also tend to like the DIY and crochet videos. There's actually a slight correlation between people who like those kinds of videos and the surprise package ones too, which is kind of funny. There's a little bit of a negative correlation between people who like DIY crochet and DIY for beginners. Probably because people who are doing DIY stuff probably have a little bit more experience and probably not beginners, and so there's that little bit of variation there. And then of course the outliers, so people who are just really, really, really enthusiastic about something, and they can click on this and you can see their test results, all their responses. And again, the demographics, psychographics, cognitive behavior, and everything else. So you can kind of get an idea of why these AIs are so, why the responses are so different from everything else. So, and there's all that down here. And then if we go back over to the avatar, actually go to the per question one. And so here we asked okay, name 5 types of videos or content buckets that you'd like to see on our channel. And then this thing we go through and it's okay, these are the types of videos that I'd actually really like to see. So quick projects for busy parents, patterns for babies and kids with guides on sizing guides and safety stuff. What's that I sent you? It's a comparison between different types of yarn and that kind of stuff. And we can see that kind of across the board. So tutorials for quick projects, stuff for babies and for little kids, specific tips and tricks. Lots of people looking for quick and practical projects. So a lot of folks are asking for like beanies and accessories, beanies and flowers, and agigumi. We pulled this up. It's one of these little things. Oh, I like that one. I had to get them to build that or make one of those for me. But making these little things, and like again, that's really consistent because if we go back and if we look at the Benjamin Hernandez avatar, right? So again, can't trust the names, but this is probably going to be like somebody who has like little kids, right? It's a 44-year-old woman, and so like that kind of makes sense. Like that's it works. So we can do stuff like this so we can get ideas of like what kind of content the audience would actually respond to, what kind of things they would actually like. Again, test it, tweak it. It's not going to be perfect the first try, but this is going to let you get through those first 2 or 3 drafts, first 4 drafts, before you actually have to spend any money on like big stuff, right? I actually tested this thing on different pricing models for this tool. So I had it go through. Get our data here in just a second. That'll take a minute to load up because again, it's getting all those responses. This one had 567 responses from a whole bunch of different AIs. I said, hey, what do you think about these different price points? And most of them were like, maybe, no. These ones had these really long responses because I was testing something, so like ignore that. This is like absolutely not, like way too expensive. So you get some useful and interesting information out of that. I also did these ones where I gave it information from, I had ChatGPT go out and do some deep research on a whole bunch of different types of computers. And then I gave it to all of these AIs, to these 300 AIs, these 300 avatars, and said, okay, pick the type of computer that would work best for you and your needs. And then I need you to analyze all this information. And I need you to, help me actually create some content with this. So what these ones did is I said, okay, so how do you intend to use the computer? And I said, assume that you're telling your friend about the PC or the laptop that you just bought. What would you title the email that you would send them? Right, and then there's that. What information would you highlight about the system that you bought? What would the body of the email say? And then how would you encourage your friend to purchase the same system that you did? Right? So again, doing this 300 times is really helpful because then I can take all this information, I can take this report, I can save it as a PDF, I can drop it back into ChatGPT and say, okay, go through with the deep research that you just did. I want you to go through, I want to group these responses by type of computer, and then I want you to make a list of like the key pain points that they're trying to solve, and then I want you to also look through the through the email titles, the bodies, the CTAs, and everything else, and come up with some really good like marketing copy that I can use for like an email campaign, or that I can use for ads, or I can use for YouTube or whatever, and then use that to actually start creating and testing content for marketing these things. And that actually worked really well. So I'm still testing it, still growing it, still kind of messing around with it, but it did work. What else do I have in here? Testing it for for courses, consultants, coaches, those kinds of things. Again, because we can go through and we can create our own custom avatars, we can also then basically create like little mini avatar clones of your students or of your clients, right? And then we can take that and we can create that little avatar group, and then that way you can test your course content, your training content, your consulting packages and offers against that target audience that you'd want to be speaking to. So for example, if we were to do something like this, right? So again, talking about coaches and consultants, we could go through, create the sub-avatar group, right? And then we come over here and then let's set up a multi-funnel test. I'll say, okay, step 1, YouTube ad. Step 2, landing page. Step 3, checkout page, thank you page, whatever. Step 4, the first video in the course that you just bought. And then being able to get all that feedback from that kind of perfect student all in one shot, which is also really, really cool. So like I said, there's just all kinds of crazy things that you can do with this. There's so many interesting applications for it. I think it's really cool. I'm a little biased, of course, because I built the stupid thing, but I am really, really happy with it. And I'll switch over to the admin side so you can see real quick. But there's already been 11 tests run today. It's already generated 1,203 results. I think overall, yeah, I know, go away. Actually, I think if I look over here. So across all the users so far, we've run 118 individual tests. We've gotten back 7,341 test results between like 8 active users. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's going into this. So I'm trying to think of the other stuff that's on here that's kind of important to know about. You have your profile over here. This is where you can control like how many credits you have, that kind of stuff. I'm also uploading a whole bunch of guides. So these are like little mini tutorials on like how to create your first test and how to analyze your test results, and some advanced survey question guides. And then like I still need to do how to create your own custom audience, how to create the multi-step tests, how to do a split test, how to do the multimedia tests. Like I still have a whole bunch of tutorials and guides I need to record, but all those are going to be going up. But I just showed you all how to use that, so hopefully that's not going to be too bad. And then, like I said, I'm always wanting to go through and add in more features, more options, more ability to work on stuff. Then also, this might have just been me, but one of the things I really wanted to have in here was the ability to, it's like if I'm working on a test, right? And I'm going through and reading through the results, and I think, oh, crap, I should have asked, X, Y, or Z question. Dang it. So when I added this will let you go back, and it basically clones that test that you just ran, and then you can make any adjustments to it that you want, so like adjusting questions or adding questions, removing questions, whatever, and then rerun it, and then it will automatically pause the one that's already running, just that way it doesn't eat more of your credits, so you can get rid of that. So it's also pretty handy. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else really. Oh, well, I wanted to show some results from this. So this is for a YouTube campaign for that real estate client I was mentioning before, right? So my old CTR really sucked. I could not get people to interact with this thing like at all. 0.44% click-through rate, 0.37% click-through rate, excuse me, not conversion rate, 0.32, like it was all pretty bad. Went through, I exported all of the titles, the titles, the descriptions, the headers, the long headers, the images, all of that from this ad campaign, dropped it into the system, said, okay, I need you to go through and help me filter out the stuff in here that's not performing. I need you, or like none of this is really performing. I need you to tell me like how I can adjust this in order to make this more engaging for you. And again, yellow line is the CTR. You can kind of see the difference over here. So my peak was 7.5% CTR on this. And these are for YouTube ads. And I can also show you this. This is the, I want the average view duration and percentage viewed for this video. So this is the ad that I was running. My average view duration is 1 minute and 16 seconds. It's a 78% retention rate on a ad that you skip after 5 seconds. And it's got, it's not last 90 days, 532 views on it. It's like, that's pretty darn good. Like that's pretty solid. Getting somebody to watch 78% of an ad that they have the option to skip after 5 seconds. Pretty happy with that. And again, even with this ad, what I did is I then took that information from the from other campaigns that I was running and said, okay, this is the ad that I want you to actually look at. In fact, I think I even have it. It's one of these. This one. I think it was this one. But the AIs actually sat down, watched the ad, gave me feedback on it, and then I went through, I made those adjustments, I tweaked, I optimized, I reran the test through the system, and the AIs are like, yeah, this is better. And then eventually I got to a cutoff point where I was getting diminishing returns. I was like, okay, I'm happy with this, I'm good with this. Let's move forward. And then that's the ad that was actually initially published. So, like this one here, really good feedback on it. Lots of agrees. I need to fix the coloring on this because it's red. You think it's bad, and then it's like neutral. So I need to fix that a little bit. But you can see like the responses on this are a lot more positive. They found value in watching the ad. Most people said yes. 97% said yes. Was it easy to understand? Again, lots of people said yes. Pretty much everybody said yes. And so like it just made things a lot better. And now because of that, we were able to get that conversion rate on the site. I think right now we're sitting at like 10% conversion for real estate leads. So really happy with that too. But yeah, so like I said, that's the system. That's how it works. That's how I'm using it. And again, I'm just really excited about it. I love this whole thing, and I am, just really proud of it. I think it's doing a good work. I think that it's been helping us out a ton here inside of the business, and there's just a lot of good stuff that's coming out of this. So that being said, the next things that I need to deal with this is I still have some bugs that I'm fixing on here. I am actively looking for more testers for the system. So we do have some pricing that we're getting set up. I don't have a page where you can go and sign up and buy, credits or a subscription or anything for this yet. But if this is something that you would like to test and use, then shoot me a message. I'm really active on Facebook, or I'll drop a link to. I'll just drop a link to my Facebook page on the in the comments of this video afterwards. But otherwise, you just come find me on Facebook. It's Tristan Goodwin, Triston Goodwin, Godwin. Same as you're seeing here in the title of this video, which I'm. If you're watching this video, you probably have found some way that you can connect with me, like through X or LinkedIn or whatever. But yes, like I said, if this is something you would like to come and test and try out, then so we're happy to have you. And then also, if you are if you just like for me to run some tests for you, like we can definitely do that too. Again, just shoot me a message on whatever platform, and then we can get that put together and taken care of for you as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Before I forget, this one. So, if you're wondering about like how big of a how much information you can actually send these things, this one ran on a 120 something page book, and the AIs went through and analyzed the entire. That's the wrong Zach. Different Zach. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. That one. Different Zach. This is the one where it went through and it analyzed the entire book and gave feedback and everything. It was actually pretty good. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with this. But yeah, so like I said, that's Avatar Forge. So again, we do have some folks on here. If anybody does have any questions, if there's anything else that you'd like to see, then I'll drop it in the chat. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes. And then if nothing pops up, then I'm going to go eat some lunch. And then I got to work on the API call for the video uploads, because 20 megabytes for a video is not enough. Well, it says it has a video in here. It shouldn't have been in there. That's cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can show you guys when I'm working on this. I had the AIs go through and like explain what it is, like how it works. This is probably a lot cleaner and easier. But we'll keep working on that. And what is this one? This is the one that shows like how many tokens go into it. So I think this is part of the reason that the system is as robust as it is because like just the avatar data alone is 26,000 tokens, and it's kind of a lot. The AIs are running primarily on GPT-5 Mini, and so that gives you like a lot of the benefits out of GPT-5, but it's a lot faster than just running it on 5, and then also the API costs are a lot lower. But we do have the ability to run this thing on anything up to GPT-5 Pro, which is the one that takes a really long time to think. And it's also like $20 per million tokens or $200 per million tokens, something like that. It's insane. And then the video part, like I said, that's going through Google Gemini. One of the things I'm really excited to get set up in here as soon as we get the video upload part fixed is actually training it to work as like a stand-in for the Google AI systems, like YouTube's internal algorithms, and see if we can use that to kind of estimate how well a video will perform, make sure it's going to be hitting the right audiences, that kind of stuff. So really excited about that. But again, you got to fix the API first so we can actually upload the videos that are longer than 30 seconds long. What else? Eventually, we're also going to be plugging in a content generation system into this, so that way you can say, okay, it's like the PC example, right? You can tell, okay, so here's the copy, like here's the content that I need the, this blog article written on, right? And then have it go through, write the draft, test it against the audience, make adjustments to the draft, check it against the audience again, keep doing that until it gets to a certain threshold, and then go and, write the, so starting out with like an outline, then write a draft, then, writing the published piece. But then it goes through like 4 or 5 revisions and feedback sessions from these avatars before it actually, is ready to be seen by the human. So like it's still probably not going to be perfect, just because writing copy, the actual writing of copy is still really difficult for the AIs to do in a way that's not still like super generic, but it does make it a lot better. And I also think it would be really interesting if I could also have it go through and like ping and find like specific avatars, like using the my smart select option here, saying, okay, go through, grab 5 or 6 avatars who would be like the ideal target for the copy that you're writing, and then keep them in mind as you're writing the copy, right? So I think that would be really interesting too. That we're kind of getting the best of from the writing side, but then also getting the feedback side at the same time. So that's another little thing that I'm working on with this. And again, that's probably going to be something that comes out in a few months. It might be a separate platform, just because I don't want to put too much on here. I'm just trying to see if I can keep things from breaking. But yeah, that would be that. So that being said, I didn't see any questions in chat. So again, if you do have anything else that pops up, or if you'd like to learn more about this, shoot me a message on whatever platform, and I'll see y'all then. So thanks for hanging out. I hope you all have a great day.